Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, Andy likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast for this surprise and bonus version. We are here, we being me, Andy, and Emily, Purple Rock Emma. Should I
It's
start
very
again?
important we maintain the illusion.
Yeah, to talk about not U.S. Survivor, what some observers in the past have called funny accent Survivor. Those observers being me. So yes, for those of you who know, which I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you know, but maybe some people are just deep into the lore of our podcast and don't listen to anything. There was a recent season called Survivor Australia versus the World. It has come and gone. We have watched it all, and we're ready to talk about it. I think maybe the easiest way to start, because some people might still be just like, what? Is why did we, and I'll ask you first, Emily, why did you decide to watch your very first ever non-U.S. season of Survivor?
Because Parvati and Sari were on it.
Boom, simple. This is the kind of economic conversation you guys can expect from Andy and Emma. So just to set the baseline, this is the first time either of us have ever watched Survivor that wasn't on CBS. We have been resistant to the various versions of International Survivor for different reasons. We'll get into those probably throughout, but
Mostly laziness.
yeah, definitely that's the biggest one. But yeah, man, they put in, like, we've watched worse shows to see some of these people in before. And I'll say for me, I don't know that one of them would have been enough.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I gave Big Brother a real chance for Sari. Do you know how hard that was?
Yeah, I've watched some of that show in the past, not anytime recently. So yes, I do.
I couldn't even do it the whole way. Once it was clear, I was like, oh, we already know she's going home, so I just don't have to watch this week. Okay, I'm done now.
Yeah, we've both watched shows where people yell at briefcases for various former survivors. So in comparison to that, this is not as big an ask, and like they cast 3. So yeah, you're obviously here mostly for Parvati and Sari, me, Parvati, Sari, and Tony. And I gotta say, it might have taken all 3. I don't know if I would have done. I don't think I would have done it for 1, 2, maybe 3 is like, and even there, I wasn't planning on it. But then you told me we should, and I'm like, oh, fine, I guess I'll maybe try, and yeah, I did it.
You did. I'm very proud of you. You were really brave.
Yeah, and speaking of, you did watch Parvati's season of the mythical Deal or No Deal season that actually came into play this season, or came into discussion and in no way came into play. So you had some familiarity with, I've already forgotten the dude's name, Golden God, David, there we go.
Yes. So, okay, first, maybe this should probably be obvious, but just in case, we will be going into full spoilers for the season.
Yes.
So, don't listen unless you don't care.
Yeah, this is not to listen to see if you want to check out the season. This is us reacting to the season that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess, are we just getting into our familiarity? I obviously worship Parvati and Sari. They are both in my little bio on our website as among my favorite players. A bio that probably no one sees anymore because I literally can't post on the website anymore. I no longer have access, and neither you or John ever bothered to fix that.
I feel like I tried a couple times and it didn't work, and then I gave up.
Yeah, that sounds fair. And also, doesn't matter? Not really. No. If I ever really needed something, I could send you a copy. It's fine. Yeah, love them. I enjoy Tony. I'm not a Tony hater by any means, just not Stan level. Not at the level that Andy and John are. And then I know David now from Deal or No Deal Island, and I was also familiar with Luke because I watched Australian Traders, and he was on season 2 of that, and he was not the problem there, but oh my God, just the most frustrating season of television I've ever seen, except it does end in a darkly satisfying way. And real quick, because some people might be like, why would you watch Traders Australia when you don't even watch Survivor Australia? Surely you like Survivor more than the Traders. Yes, of course. However, the international season of the Traders, well, not all, but some, are made available on Peacock, and therefore I can watch it on my TV easily. There you go. That's it. That's all it takes. And it's shorter. There's so much Australia.
Yeah, honestly, that's a good way to get into this. Because, and we're stating this up front so people know, this is going to be a podcast from 2 people who only turned into this because of the U.S. people. No prior knowledge of anything else that came. I think you might have some rumor knowledge or some people talking about certain contestants. I don't even have that. David sounded familiar because people talked about Deal or No Deal Island, which I didn't watch that season. The name Shawnee I'd heard of before, but nothing about her.
Yeah, I knew Shawnee. I knew of Shawnee. I'd heard her mentioned a lot. I've heard her particularly mentioned as someone like, oh, you would love Shawnee. Spoiler, she seems fine. Although apparently she had given birth maybe more recently even than Parvati did before Winners at War. So she might have not been fully in the game. And, what? Fair enough. And, not everyone on if someone's only impression of Amy is Cusack was in Micronesia and not Vanuatu, they're going to get a totally different character. So these things happen. I knew about Lisa because it was often talked about that she won Survivor New Zealand wearing a RHAP shirt, which is funny. So I think I'd heard people in that world mention that.
I didn't even know there was a Survivor Finland, for instance.
Yeah, no, me neither.
But yeah,
or
and so
Quebec. Well,
Quebec I'd heard of. I had no intention of ever watching, especially because it's not even English, right?
Yeah, it's very funny to me that there's a Survivor Quebec and not a Survivor Canada.
Quebec has their own laws and everything, so it can be done probably without engaging different licensing agreements and stuff. And
I guess now Canadians can go on Survivor, so it doesn't really.
They can now, yeah. Obviously, the licensing agreement for Canada is still out there. If somebody wanted it, but also Quebec has their own channels and their own, so they need to fill up their own content. So that's a whole thing. But yeah, so the first kind of topic is why have we never watched International Survivor before? You guys call yourselves Survivor fans. You have a podcast, and you can't even do this. And yeah, I'll get into it. First off is, I'm happy with the level of Survivor content that I take in now. I'm not really looking for more. And that would extend to obviously other, countries' shows. That frankly extends to pre-show content. I don't take in any of it unless it's a returnee season. I'm particularly excited about seeing some people. There are some former survivors. If they're going to give an interview, I'll probably check it out because those people entertain me and I know that they entertain me. But for those who might be tuning into this first time, I don't know anything about the people that are in the upcoming season 49. And reminder, do not spoil me. I need to guess the secret Canadian when that season starts up. I don't listen to other podcasts about the show at all. That way I don't have to worry about stealing other people's takes. I don't really read a lot of interviews or anything in the show. Sometimes I'll read a post show interview if it's either somebody who I found really interesting or the post uses enough things that you hooked me. When so-and-so says something crazy, I'm not above clicking on things in there, but for the most part, I intentionally limit my Survivor intake to what's on CBS when it's on. And some of that was a conscious choice because I used to take in more, right? I used to listen to other podcasts. I used to take in more content. I used to watch old seasons in the off season. And I found that actually didn't make me enjoy Survivor more. I found the opposite. That and if I have an observation about a lot of people who do take in a whole lot of Survivor, sometimes y'all be very cranky. So I'm protective of my time. So that's the first reason. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think that is one thing. Like, I watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
And I would enjoy, if you're only watching Survivor, then you don't get to watch anything else. I love television. I think if this had started I don't know, when did, if
say September, if it started in September with regular...
Well, not even that. Like, if Australian Survivor became a thing, in my early 20s when I'm watching TV on my laptop,
yep,
maybe I'm watching it, but and back when I was, pirating more, but now that's less necessary and I like to watch things on my television, I don't want to go through the effort.
Yes.
And there's a lot of episodes and they're long. And okay, it took a global pandemic for me to get my husband to watch Survivor with me. And he's not watching Australian Survivor too, right? So then that means it's also a show I'm watching on my own. That's multiple times a week. Now this I could pull off when I watch during the day. That's also the thing with, when Peacock drops international seasons of The Traitors, I have my lunch breaks covered for a couple weeks. I can watch one a day. That's great. That's fine. But prime time, that's for real TV. So...
Yeah, and that's a big thing for me too. And obviously some of this sounds like an old man take, like a generational thing. You and I, of course, are not the same generation, but I'm very millennial coded, like very elder millennial coded, just because I'm on the internet so much. But yeah, man, I have a real size TV. I like to watch that. Frankly, sometimes because I want the second screen to be the second screen instead of the first. I watch most things with my wife. We're not going to gather around the computer, to do that. So it's honestly, that's the other part. Even if this was really good, I can't really think of anything that I'd want to watch that I have to go through the level of effort that I had to watch this. And it wasn't even that much effort, but there's just so much TV and so many different streaming services and all of that. And again, I pay for them, which makes me, again, that's a generational thing. It's different than some other people, that it's just nah, I'm good. It's I'm sure it's fine. But I'm never sitting around being man, I don't have anything to watch. So you make it just a little difficult for me. And I'm so I like basketball way more than I like Survivor. But I only watch NBA basketball. Maybe every once in a while WNBA, but it's still only if one of the networks here in Canada picks it up. So right now there's this EuroLeague going on where there are a lot of NBA players playing at European Championship, playing for their countries. I would like to watch that. I'm not going to find some dodgy stream to do it. I'm just going to let it go. So that's the other part of this. Is even if people say it's really good, note that it's not worth the effort. Now there'll be the question we'll get into whether this season was or not. But in general, it's just and all you got to do is get a VPN. I'm tech savvy. I understand how these things work. I just don't want to do that. Not when I can just find 3 other things to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe if, God forbid, U.S. Survivor ever ended, and then I'm man, I miss Survivor. Maybe then it would be worth it to go through the back catalog.
Yeah, maybe.
Other shows, but also maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe I just watch other things because there's just simply no shortage. There's old shows that I've never seen Mad Men. I've never watched The Sopranos. I don't need.
Those are good shows. This is a hot take,
I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I get it, man.
Yeah, hasn't happened yet.
No, literally in our discussions, you and I, other staffers, we just post what we're watching so that everybody knows, oh yeah, I meant to check that out. Like, and there's always like a list of like 2 to 3 things, even in the deep summer now. And even if like in some way that if there's no TV shows that I feel like I really need to watch, then I watch movies. Like, again, I just don't need more Survivor in my life. Glad it's there for people that like it. Now I will say when it first started, there was some like, I was also just not interested. I'm like, yeah, you guys can have your hipster Survivor. I'm fine. That was a counter reaction to what happened. This is basically watching these international survivors, and I'd say this was more the case early on, but it's still obviously out there. Was this badge of honor and fandom? Like, I'm a more elevated fan than you because I watch this, and I like to push back against attitudes like that. You'd be like, why would I watch that? Like, it breaks sometimes the brain of somebody who's trying to out snob you when you are just like, no, I'm good. Yeah, it's like, but we're supposed to compete here with who's the bigger fan, and I'm just like, yeah, no, that sounds bad. I'm not interested. So I mean, I'll admit that was part of it for me. I think that I've moved past that, to a degree. I'm aware of some of my weaknesses as a human, but for the most part, I'm happy with the level of Survivor in my life, and I don't really like. Again, if Survivor suddenly wasn't available through regular television, I'd probably just not watch it anymore. But let's talk about what we did watch. And the biggest question is, we went through the effort. Did we enjoy watching this season? Did you?
I mean, results, baby. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I will say, having been the evangelist of our staff chats, it started off really strong. I do think it kind of petered out. In terms of like when I started, I was like, oh shit, you guys, it's actually really good. Although I credit that largely to the cast, like we always do.
Yeah. I mean, the first episode has Parvati outwitting like a cocky dude. Like,
it's just hook it into my veins. Yeah. I was like, I mean, people who were in our comment section know, like, I was like, as a, straight edge person, I was like, is this what drugs feels like? Like, this is incredible. God, that's why I wanted so badly. Like, it worked out for her, obviously, but like wanted so badly for her to make Luke look stupid with the idol because that's just the good stuff, man. That's just...
Yeah, it was completely unnecessary to her and probably smarter that she didn't, but it would have been a lot of fun. It would have been satisfying.
Like, just... that first, like, I was like buzzing. I was on such a high. And then the second episode was so like wild and crazy. And we're getting to know these other people. So I'm like, wow, this is great. And then the third episode, I'm like, okay, that's just survive, And like, it's not like it was bad. None of it was like bad. But I think from what I've seen online, and it was a good season for sure. I think it was maybe even a great season. I don't know. It was short, so it's hard to like quantify, but like the amount of takes I've seen online about like best season ever and stuff like that, I feel like are drafting off of the first 2 episodes still, and then maybe a little bit with the results, which again, like I am the residential Parvati stan of the podcast. Like I am thrilled. Let's, don't get me wrong. Like the day the finale came out, I remember, I was like, I'm just gonna, lay up in bed with my iPad because that was the easiest way to watch it. Like first thing in the morning, so I don't have to get spoiled. And like my husband was like, "Oh yeah, it's a good thing." Like I've already seen stuff about it. And so once I finally finished, an hour and a half later, I just walked out, like raised my arms in triumph.
Yeah,
just like, yeah.
I'll say you actually spoiled me.
Damn, really?
Yeah, wow. Just one little post that you did. You were doing the posts for our Blue Sky account.
Well, I tagged them.
I know. I just was scrolling, like, chronologically backwards, and that was the last, like, probably might have been your last post, but there was one from our account that was like, we did it, Joe. I was like, oh, but here's the thing. That outcome wasn't really in doubt for me by the time. So
also, I am going to say, like, the reason why I probably didn't even really see sport is on my personal Blue Sky, I had #SurvivorAU muted. So that's on you.
Hey, I'm not upset. Again, like, I was going into that episode like 95% sure I knew how it was going to go
Yeah.
down. So it wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. And then I would have been spoiled anyway because I had to spend like 2 days trying to find the episode. And in that time, searching for this was telling me the answer, which again was not surprising at all.
No,
I don't think it changed the experience of watching the final for me whatsoever. And it definitely wouldn't have changed it as soon as, like, you know, Suri's fire making happens. Like, that would be the only doubt that was left. And they're not really.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, as soon as Parvati wins immunity, that was the only, like, if she gets to 3, she wins. And obviously she got to 3.
Yeah. And frankly, it all went exactly how I assumed. Like, I had heard from enough people like, oh, Survivor Australia always ends with an endurance challenge. Also, Luke is really bad at endurance challenges. And so I was like, okay, so Parvati will win.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think he had said the same to us. So again, not like that's how I found out about it first, but it was, not surprising at all. I enjoyed the season as well. And for the same reason, I tuned in to watch the 3 American players and one of them dominated it. Now, if I'm being honest, prior to the season starting, Parvati winning was probably my 3rd favored outcome. First, because I'm a good person, is like Suri finally winning. That was the thing I would have wanted most.
Of course.
Second, Tony winning, just because, like, it would be insane. Like, Tony can't win just playing normal, right? So then I would know, like, it would be
right.
an
Like, you would
thing.
know it'd be in a you'd be in for a good season.
Yeah, it would be exciting. Like, that's the only way he gets there. But like, there's not a lot of distance between Tony and Parvati winning. Now, as the season's progressing, Parvati winning became my most wanted outcome because the narrative was told through her. So frankly, like, it would still be great if it happened. But as the season goes, like, if somehow Suri won, it would kind of be unsatisfying. That said, that's why I knew she wasn't going to win, because I've seen a season of reality television that Suri wins, and I know how that feels. And this season was not that.
And it feels good.
Oh, it feels damn good. And actually, I watched that knowing most likely that Suri had won, because I wasn't going to watch the Traders at all. And then people kept saying, oh, great things for Suri. It's like, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm in favor of watching great things for Suri.
That was a tough one, too, because back then Traders dropped it all in one day.
So okay, that's probably it.
I think Kelly Wentworth actually spoiled that for me, similarly with how you got spoiled on this one, was just like, she did it. And I'm like, that's got to be, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be. But even then, like, I'd already watched some, because it's, that's a lot to watch in one day, right? But I was like, how do I tell the guys that they should watch this without saying why they should watch it?
Yeah, we had that issue with a couple of ours. Matt and Brad both weren't watching, like, because here's the thing, we'll get into this quick, but it's like, a lot of it really quick. You fall behind on this show very quickly. And it's like, well, we could tell you whether or not you should watch it, but that in itself would be a huge spoiler. Like, it's unlikely we're telling you need to watch this season because some rando Australian you've never heard of won it. But yeah, no, like, I enjoyed the experience enough. And I think now, because we are outsiders to this world, I think people might want to know, like, so now you've watched a season of Survivor Australia. How does it compare to watching regular Survivor? Was it as good as we were all saying? And I'll first preface all of this, which is, this wasn't a real season of Survivor Australia. Like, it is unfair to compare this 14-player, 16-day version of Survivor that also notably is not filled with Australians, that has players we already know, to the regular version, which is, I don't know, 1,000 episodes a season or something.
I don't even know how many episodes, but I believe it's 48 days.
Yeah, it's 48
and, like,
days.
24 people.
And
they have, like, non-elimination episodes and shit.
Yeah. So, like, I get, like, it's not. So caveat that this is a different thing. But at the same time, the whole purpose of doing something like this is to draw in new viewers and be like, hey, see our thing? And in that regard, I enjoyed it. So does that mean I'm into Survivor Australia? And I'm like, nah, not really. It was good. It was fine because it was less Survivor Australia and more Survivor Parvati. So I'm all in for that. But kind of getting back to our reasons why we never watched Survivor Australia before, nothing about this experience changed those things for me. So like I ended up watching most of the episodes via YouTube. That's easy enough. It's on my TV. That's the thing. I don't want to cast it to my TV. My phone and TV gets buggy. I don't want to get a VPN. If I would have had those, I would have had one by now already. Currently, I don't live in a country that is, blocking all content, but, there's time. So there, but even like the finale was never put on YouTube, so I had to go something around. So like searching around. But the biggest thing is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, hour to an hour and a half. Like we don't know. I don't want to watch that much Survivor in that short period of time for the first time. Obviously, like I've binged former seasons before, but like it's not the same experience. For me, the experience of watching Survivor is, same day watching, being involved in conversation, and like you got to watch it right away and like think about it and all this. But the common feeling was, no, we can't watch anything else. We got to watch another darn episode of Survivor, because if I don't, then I'm going to like miss, but I'll get spoiled, or the episodes will literally disappear from the platform that we're watching them on. I don't know. What did you feel the experience of watching was for you?
Yeah, I think it was definitely easier for me.
Yeah, because you were doing it solo.
Yeah, that was a huge help. I don't work very hard. Watch it basically in the morning, and I mean I have a monitor and a laptop, so I could screen it when needed. Yeah, I mean the first time, because it premiered like on a Sunday, frankly, I found the weekday ones easier to watch because I could be on like the more comfortable and on a bigger screen. But on a Sunday, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna like, hey, is it okay if I put on Australian Survivor? Yeah, and like I found the link that should work, and I have my iPad, and I'm like, cool, I can just Apple Play, cast this to the TV, and then the audio isn't like synced up. And I'm like, I can't live like this.
Yeah, I watched one that was like 720. It's like, again, like, some of these sounds like first class problems, but like big screen TVs are kind of cheap now.
Big TV, yeah, and putting that on a big TV, it looks bad. Which is what makes me so sad about a Harry Potter musical, which is now the only Harry Potter canon I can enjoy. Because those University of Michigan students didn't say anything. But Darren Criss forever. It's like, so then I had to uncast it and just watch it on my iPad, which is like fine, but it's not watching something on TV, I love my TV. We have a huge TV. It is my pride and joy. But yeah, like it was fine. It was easy for me to stay caught up largely.
And I'll say, like, the timing of this was near perfect. Like, there was only one show, like, a weekly show that it was competing with. I watch American Ninja Warrior. But that's, like, 2-hour thing, like, every Monday. So that would make you fall. I wasn't watching both of those the same day, most likely. But other than that, like, I did have some time. But it's like I was trying to catch up on some Apple shows and all that. So, like, if it was any other time instead of, like, August, there's no way I would be able to watch 3 to 4 hours of Survivor a week.
Yeah, and like, sorry, I totally, but like, I just don't, I don't know, it's just not the ideal way to, like, it's a weird schedule. Like,
if it was spaced out more, like, I believe Big Brother, like, does, like, probably beginning of the week, middle, end. I don't know that for sure, but
especially that, and like I know Love Island people, that's like every day or whatever. But first of all, I can't live like that either. But I think they had like one day off. But it's the like 3 and then nothing, especially for the first week where it was like, oh, it was exciting, and then it's like, and then you just have 4 days of like nothing, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is just a weird thing. And then of course Australian time zone makes it, because it's like the middle of the night, so it's basically there as soon as I wake up, like even on the sketchy sites, because it's like by that time they've all been uploaded. So that was nice at least. And
Yeah.
I didn't use YouTube. I used a website that I can share if people ask, but I don't know if I should say online. I actually have to say I found that experience very easy. I remember, the days of like mega upload and shit like that, and it was more complicated. Or even the someone on our site helped me out with this, where I was watching The Traders New Zealand because it was just before it was on Peacock, the second season, only because it was like, I heard like it maybe got canceled, or there was some problem with their production, so they just threw it all on YouTube. And I'm like, oh, well, then it might not go on Peacock, but if it's just on YouTube, I'll just watch it. Like, that's easy. And then partway through, it was just gone. And so I was like, well, that was invested.
Yeah, and that was the added pressure. I had if I found a YouTuber, I got to watch it soon because it's not going to be there later that week. Now, that's enough about the delivery mechanism and all that, but the show itself. So the other thing that you'd hear a lot in comments about Survivor is, oh, Australian Survivor host is so much better than Jeff Probst. So why can't we just force Jeff out and get that guy, So his name's Jonathan, I believe that's correct. What do you think? You've now experienced what I guess was the final season of Jonathan, whatever, as the host of
Jonathan LaPaglia.
Is it? Whatever.
Yeah.
Survivor Jonathan. What was your take?
He's just a guy.
Yes. This is your God? What are we talking about here?
He's just a guy.
He's so fine. Generic.
He's fine. He looks like Australian Jeff Probst. Like, they picked him out. They were like, oh, that'll help be a good facsimile for our show in Australia. He's just a guy. I don't know, man. I'm glad y'all like him, and I'm sad. I'm sorry that you're all sad he's gone. I would have probably been sad if Jeff Probst was gone after the first 10 seasons, too. I think, and what gets me is I feel like a lot of people's hatred of Jeff Probst is really more about him as a producer, not as a host. Like, I don't think he's the best producer. I think he's a damn good host. I have no problem with Jonathan. He seems fine.
Yeah, he doesn't take anything away from the show, but he doesn't add anything. And some of that maybe is due to the nature of this particular season. But I'd find that in Tribal Council, it's is this guy even asking questions? Is he even there? And there were so many, live tribals and all of that. So maybe there just wasn't the space. But it's just and maybe that's for some what they prefer. They don't want the host stealing any of the spotlight. Okay, if that's what you're into, that's not me. I want, if you're a regular fixture of the show all the time, maybe you should bring something to the table. As you say, you watch other seasons of Traders, you really enjoy the game and easy delivery mechanism. The main thing I like about watching this Traders is Survivor imports and, Alan Cumming.
Alan Cumming, yes.
So those international versions don't provide that, other than, I guess the Canada one had one Survivor that I don't really care about. But it's if you don't have Alan Cumming, what are we doing here? He is such a major aspect. Now, I think those international editions, from my understanding, are it's a very different experience. It's more about the game, whereas the American version is really about, the show and all of that. But it's
the others it's more normie casting. Yeah. I will say the Australian and the UK hosts are good. New Zealand, and I hear it's not on Peacock, and neither is Canada for some. And actually, usually when the international seasons get put on Peacock, it's much later. So maybe there's a new Ireland one now, and that's apparently Sister Michael from Dairy Girls. So that does have me intrigued, I gotta say, because Dairy Girls rules. But I have no idea who the host is for Canada. Something, again, with licensing, I guess, the Canadian Traders is not on Peacock, so I will probably never watch it.
It is on the streaming service that we have here, which I do. Peacock does not exist here. But
I
Jonathan.
Hope Ireland will be, because those are pleasant accents.
Yeah, that'd be, yeah. I mean, obviously a big part of the enjoyment of regular Traders is the accents, and it's now I feel bad that I thought of that when I'm talking Irish. I'm not conflating the two. I know it is not an Irish accent. But the way that Alan Cummings says murder is like a huge hook. But yeah, no, this Jonathan guy gave me nothing. Like literally nothing. He was just there. So
Like, even his biggest moment was probably making ball jokes, and you know who makes fucking ball jokes?
and it took him so long. I'm like, they're there. Where are they? And then he did a couple. It's like, I mean, nice try, buddy, but yeah, no,
Like, I'm pretty sure the one he said is something Jeff Probst has like fully said about
Yeah.
like separating. And like, I remember that.
yeah. So honestly, like again, maybe he's bummed because he knew contract negotiations weren't going well, or whatever. But if this is your guy, I have a hard time believing anything else you guys have been saying about this show and its quality. Because, okay, yeah, he's certainly a guy. I don't think he'll be very hard to replace. Not that I'll ever find out. So the next thing, when we're comparing this show to the show that we actually watch, and maybe I am conflating two different constituencies, but like certainly a thing that American Survivor fans complain about all the time is how loaded with twists Survivors become, how they don't just let the players play. How are we even supposed to predict play properly when they're just changing the rules all the time? And I feel like I've heard this argument that's like, well, yeah, that's CBS and the producers and Jeff and Probst doing this, but not my beautiful beloved International. And like,
I did fully see, and I think it was, I can't remember if it was just after like the first couple episodes, which would have been more fair, or later. But like, I absolutely saw posts about this season of like, this has been such a great season of Survivor, and look, they did it without journeys or taking anyone's vote. And I'm like, yes, technically those are not twists that were involved, but as I'm sure you're about to get into, there were some twists.
and then this thing was loaded to the fucking gills with random ass shit. Twice they went to tribal council not knowing what they were going to do. Or when they thought they knew what they were going to do, and then they're like, hey, we're voting again. Like, I think you guys are lying to me again about how, International Survivors for us purists, not like the damn dirty US version.
And while I'm sure some of this is, well, I'm sure at least the double tribal council is partially because they're like rushing through the season and stuff, and I get that. But considering that the two tribes going to tribal, and you have Shawnee talking about how, this is how they did it in our season and stuff, which shows that they're pulling that bullshit in other seasons, even if it wasn't exactly the same. That was the worst twist, I thought. That sucked.
That was that. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? They're going to tribal council not even knowing if they're voting, how many people are voting, who's doing what.
They're voting, who they are is eligible to be voted for. Like,
fire making is an integral part of it,
That's when they should have been going, like, that's when they should have just done the double,
But no, they wanted to do this gimmick. Yeah. Look, man, and do they do twists and gimmicks for the same reason everybody else does? Survivor is otherwise a solved game, so they got to try to throw some shit at these people. But yeah, you can't tell me, again, unless this was abnormal, and as you point out, with Shawnee already mentioning stuff, this is just as twisty as other stuff, so find another argument. So you're losing me at the host is better. You're losing me at that it's a more pure game. Not to mention this was a season. And then like a lot of people again that we interact with are like, oh no, Survivor is more about social aspects and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, this is a season that like there wasn't a single puzzle like has any kind of balance or anything. It was all about like physical strength or endurance and challenges. They had multiple idols and steel idols and all. They had it all, and this was only 16 fucking days. So it's no more pure than the regular Survivor. You just like to act like it is because you don't like Jeff Probst for whatever reason. I also found, and look, the show is entitled to his own form of editing. But I think another thing people say about it is like you get a better edit, you get more. And I'll say 3 episodes a week for however many episodes. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I'll really cop to the belief that this season wasn't represented. But this felt as imbalanced and edited as most like US seasons do.
I'm gonna push back a little there because it absolutely was imbalanced. I have seen people mention often, like I think even Rob Sesternino talks about how Australian Survivor will have like 2 main characters
Okay.
and everyone else is lucky to be on the show.
Yeah, and fair enough. As I said before, preface again, I might be conflating constituencies of people complaining.
I think what there could be potentially is like because of the multiple episodes and longer days, like maybe more camp life and stuff. But I do not think Australian Survivor has a reputation of like an even and fair edit.
Because like I don't like Tommy was not really on this season, and I didn't miss him, and it was.
I mean, I imagine, I imagine the people from the
for whom English was not their primary language.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to even say just alone, just not being Australian or American, because those are the ones the Australian audience is most likely to have seen. But like even more so for Tommy and Cass. I mean, like, first of all, props to them for even like doing this because that seems really hard.
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me that, the people who are speaking English as their second language might not get as many confessionals.
Yeah. But then the other part of the edit, and maybe this isn't even comparison, is because it was so Parvati heavy, which is what I was here for. So no complaints in that regard. All these other players didn't really make that much of an impression. We'll get into that. But another edit thing wise is just like basic production. And to be fair, they do not have the budget that U.S. Survivor has. But it felt like we got a lot of like repetition in confessionals. Felt like a lot of like camp life conversations. Just you couldn't hear it as well. Like, so, and again, that's not really a knock except to say that like the main Survivor is the top dog for a reason. You can like your boutique little international version, but it's not the big leagues. And then, this one should note it's maybe tougher in all-star seasons. Certainly the upcoming returnee season of Survivor is nowhere near as diverse as recent seasons have been. But like this, if this is representative of Survivor Australia, y'all are telling on yourselves a bit by how much more you claim that it's better. Like this was a very white season of Survivor.
Yeah, and especially the Australian team. And now I admit, I don't know the demographics of Australia very well. I will say Australian traders. Well, actually, I don't know. I might just be thinking of some top character, like the winner of season 1 and stuff. But at least, and obviously it's a bigger cast, like feels a little more diverse than the Australian tribe was. So, I'm sure people of color exist.
Yeah.
But, they really, from what I know, had Kirby and called it a day. Whereas at least the World Tribe got Suri and Rob.
Yeah. And again, could also depend on the demographics of who does well on these seasons, which I guess is his own diversity quotient. But it's just like, I don't know. This seemed like a perfectly fine facsimile of Survivor. But come on. Like, I get it. I'm glad people enjoy it. You're looking for something more Survivor. You're looking for something a little different. But this season did nothing to like change the perception in my mind that people who are calling it a better show are just bragging that they watch more Survivor than the regular. I'm just a more elevated fan than the peons who only watch the normal stuff. It was fine. It's nothing about it was better, including this wasn't the best season that Parvati has ever won.
Wow. I'm surprised to hear you say that as Micronesia's #1 hater.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. But yeah, more importantly, it's fucking dominated. How great was that?
It was so good.
Like, how often were you just like, why is no one even remotely talking about taking a shot here? How are they letting her get away with this?
And most of them, I don't think even really knew who she was, which means it's not like it's not like they're all Lisas out there who are like, I will die for Suri, which is fair. But but for Parvati, it's like they maybe just kind of know. Like, okay, the Dondi of it all. I would have if you had told me ahead of time, like, oh yeah, Parvati's gonna really dominate this season and like go to the end with Australians. I'm gonna be like, oh, David must have been super involved in that. And no, they never even got to link up. He got voted out so early. For those who don't know, well, because they addressed this on the show, but Parvati fully lied.
Yeah.
He did not throw her under the bus. Like, she did get eliminated, but it wasn't because of that. To explain would involve getting way too deep into how that show works. But no, they worked together very closely. They were like super duper tight. I'm sure they would have worked very well together. Now, would she prioritize him over Suri? Probably not. But yeah, and probably it could have worked out. It probably worked out well for her, but because of the like potential targeting, but also it maybe could have come in handy. Mixed bag. But yeah, it's surprising. Just not what I
mean, hard to argue that
expected.
anything would have made this season easier for Parvati.
Yeah, they did. I love her and I love her dominance, but they really did take Parvati and Suri and put them on a tribe with a majority of women and be like, have at it.
I mean, a season of majority women. There wasn't a tribe to choose from where there wasn't, which,
for
really
sure,
quick.
but-
What a wild fucking decision that is to go 8-6. And if it had been the reverse, it would have been like a hate crime, right? Again, I understand, probably had to keep it to 14 because it's, probably contractually negotiated to get like a Parvati and Suri that like, we're not going to be there that long. But like, you got to at least go 7-7. If nothing else, it kind of ruins the magic of any kind of women's alliance when like you didn't really have to do anything to create the majority. You walked in with it and then like one vote and it's unstoppable. Instead,
I guess we can at least be impressed still with the first vote with Rob, because he was absolutely right. He shouldn't have talked, well, the way he went about it, and he also shouldn't have been like, hey, we should get rid of an American woman to like help even that out. He says to Cass and Lisa, like, pitch Tony. Like, that's the thing, is like, I'm shocked that Tony wasn't the first boot just because of being a minority, but like in the minority of the tribe as a man and also as an American, when it was like 4-3 and 4-3, Lisa and Cass were in an incredible position.
Yeah. But yeah, Parvati turning that first vote against the majority non-Americans versus Americans, very impressive, very satisfying, very Parvati-esque. But then, like, I see the random comment because I've clicked on the odd Survivor Reddit clone, so now it like comes up in the homepage if I'm on Reddit. I don't tend to click into it about like, oh yeah, well, go Black Widows too, or like, it's like that's an insult to the Black Widows. Like, they had to work and to get their thing. They had to fool people. All they had to do is, obviously, again, show up on the beach and they already had a one-player advantage. Vote out one guy, and then it's just like, I guess we should just keep going with this. Like, there wasn't any work to achieve this Swims Alliance, and bravo for them once they got to emerge. It's like, nah, the more powerful and dangerous players are the other women here. And, again, good for Parvati for using that so people wouldn't target her. But it's like, that's why you can't do that. Yeah, and it would... frankly, like, the ideal one would have been 16 and adding like one more male U.S. Survivor player so that they also would have had a balance of men and women and a balance of Americans versus non-Americans. But, then you probably have to add a few more days, and Parvati's like, nah.
It does seem like they probably would have only had to add like 2 more days. But also, apparently, Tyson has said that he was approached to be on the cast, and then they went a different way, because it sounds like apparently it was originally going to be like U.S. versus Australia, and
and then they
like
couldn't get
CBS was like, you can have 3 people. I wouldn't let them have more.
But yeah, I imagine they asked Tyson, and they almost certainly asked Boston Rob, who in place they would have cast. I don't know, because again, the 3 that they got, pretty big time.
Yeah, especially because like Sandra has already played Australian Survivor.
But Yeah, it's just like, we can't get psyched about the women turning it around on the men. They, good for them for not screwing it up, I suppose, but it's not the same thing. So just that decision alone is like, okay, this show seems that's another twist. But yeah, her dominating that first episode turning around there, and then from every step on, just never sensing the trouble, working her way out of it. Another classic, Parvati manipulating a tribal council. A thing that was hilarious as it was happening is all the confessionals of like, I don't think she'd give up on idols. Like, you were really not familiar with her game.
They really aren't. They really don't.
Or it's like, who can you trust if not Survivor, Cherie and Parvati? It's like, what are we talking about here?
Like,
they famously made fools of people who did.
They can trust each other. And like, I can understand, and really, at least to like Lisa, who straight up is just like, yeah, it's probably stupid, but I want to play with Suri. And I'm like, sure, bet. Like, that's fine. Like, the awareness I can respect.
Did not make me think more of her as a player. I felt it, because at the same time, like, yeah, it's like, if I was on Redemption Island, would I want to pal up and work with Rob? I like to think that I wouldn't be cutting promos where it's like, yes, of course I want to win, but another priority is to make sure this other person has a great shot at winning. That's a tough look.
I've already won. Whatever.
Fair enough. But yeah, and like, yeah, so the move of the season was her acting as though she could play that Steal an Idol when she could not. To the point where it fooled all of us as well. Even though it was like, I was pretty sure I understood the rules of this. But so much of stupid shit had happened by that point. It's like, maybe the show really just doesn't understand how things should work.
Yeah, like, I was like, wait, like, I remember posted, like, wait, I thought it had to be that. And someone was like, yeah, no, it was a bluff. And I was like, oh.
Brilliant. It's Tony pretending his idol still works and that he can play it after the vote.
Exactly. Now, what is interesting is, as someone who does listen to interviews and do stuff like that, is Parvati said in Exit Press that she actually, she's like, I read the rules and then, go on with the day. And so it's like, she had switched the vote to Cass. Then Cass pulls out an idol and she's like, shit. Like, oh no. Oh, wait, I have that. Take it out. Is starting to read it. Then, like, in her head, which is kind of how I read too, like, sees the third line that was like, you must play it, before the votes are cast, and just doesn't read
she
that
wasn't
part.
aware prior to?
She wasn't, but she pivoted in the moment. Yeah,
pivoted in the moment. Yeah, no, it's great.
Yes. And that apparently, I wish they had included this, that Jonathan, which, frankly, I don't love that he did, like, you don't need to be the Troyzan. It's like, oh, what's that last line say, Parvati? And she just repeated the second line she had already read.
Jeff would never.
Would never. Like,
I mean, maybe like 20 years ago he would have, but
yeah, or like, obviously, if he actually played it,
then he'd be like, no, you cannot
but
do
like,
this.
He's gonna let it play out until the moment arrives. He was not gonna do anything to stop Suri from taking that vote steal until the narc Troyzan got in the way.
Yeah. So,
but anyway, so I thought that was kind of fun. Like, I don't know if it's like more or less impressive, because obviously it would have been in the moment anyway, because she didn't know about Cass's idol and they didn't go into that tribal planning to vote for Cass. But like, to just like in the thing and not keep it and just being like, yes, oh, you're going to play it for Lisa? Yes, good. That's fine then. Carry on. And Cass is like, okay, I guess it's fine then. Which, that's where I'm a little sympathetic to maybe the live tribal with English as your second language is probably kind of tough, but it does seem like she was going to steal your idol until you said she was playing it for someone else.
That's a red flag, yeah. But I will say, because this season had already done some wacky shit, I could also understand Cass being like, well, I'm fucked. The same reason why I can explain, understand, and not really like Luke telling Parvati. When he first, like, you see that in the preview, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? She fucking got a guy to give up her necklace and then voted him out. But then I'm like, well, if you feel like you'll never be able to play that idol anyway because her advantage is so overpowered, then trying to use it to gain trust or whatever is as good a thing as anyway. And I could understand you thinking that's the way it works, because this show's just throwing shit at the wall anyway.
Plus, apparently, they did have that advantage in the previous Australian season, but that was not the season that had aired yet.
Mm.
I think Kirby's was the last one that had aired, and there was another one in between. So no one had seen that. Like, the Americans are closest because, like, that's like Parvati keeps calling it knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Basically is, but it's just focused on idols because maybe they don't.
Well, because there wasn't other
'cause there
advantages
wasn't
to steal.
anything
There
else
wasn't extra
anyway.
votes or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's officially an idol stealer.
Yeah. So yeah, she was just awesome. And I loved how, like, she, was able to keep her threat level down enough, but she never hid that she was the shit. Both in the way she talked. When Luke is sending her home, she's just staring down, like, such a power move. And fuck yeah.
I'm going to count at you like you're my kid.
Yeah.
And he looked like he was almost going to change, and then he's like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Also, the way, like, Kirby had been running the Australian tribe and then, like, meets Parvati once and is immediately simping.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that because this is our first taste of these people. Her dominating them, and Suri obviously right there with her. And I'll say, like, it feels like Suri wasn't doing as much. I think that's because Suri did not win this season. I do think a lot of the decision making would have been framed differently should Suri have been the winner instead of Parvati. I did not find these people very impressive as Survivor players. How about yourself?
Yeah, I would agree. Like, frankly, and everyone's like, oh, wow, Kirby is playing so well. Like, and I don't even know that I necessarily disagree, but, like, in that second episode, I couldn't believe that no one was just, like, pulled like a Rob Sesternino and it's like, well, let's just vote out Kirby. Like,
Same.
It was crazy to me. Like, I was like, how that is so clearly the move.
Yeah, like, even
also-
before they got into Parvati's and Suri's web, I was like, these
Right.
Aussies are crazy, and not in a good way, like it's entertaining, but another thing, and maybe different constituencies of people complain about live tribals and all of that, and it's like every tribal was just them changing their mind 3 or 4 times, and it's like, it's exciting, maybe it's good on the edit that they're putting us into this place, but after a while it's like, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. By the time people go to cast votes, do they know what they're doing? And yeah, it's like, why are you letting... It feels like enough people realize that Kirby is kind of doing all of this. Regular Survivor, they would have flipped her and got rid of her like that.
In fairness, I think some of that might be the fast-paced
Yes,
game,
yes.
especially for the Australians, since it sounds like they play a much slower game. I'm hoping this season was good training for Suri for Survivor 50, because it's a little, obviously not as fast, but it's faster than old school Survivor, old era Survivor. But yeah, so I could see if you're used to having like several days in between and stuff, and suddenly it's
every day,
like tribal every day. That's not only their gameplay, but also why every tribal was live. I wouldn't be surprised if that was not true for normal.
Yeah, no, that is actually, I agree, actually. Yeah. So the pace was just not working. And yeah, because it just felt like they didn't know what they were doing when they got to tribal council. Maybe they legit did not have enough time. But yeah, they were not impressing me then. And then when they do start interacting with Parvati and Suri, and obviously the same with the people from other shows, it's like, I think we owe the cast of Redemption Island an apology here.
For real.
At least like half of that, cast was trying to vote out Rob. They were just on the other side. And, say what you want about Rob Zombies or Nat 10 or whatever. I'm pretty confident. And admittedly, it's been a long time since I've watched. I don't know that any of them cut like confessionals where it's like, I'm really invested in Rob winning.
No, that's the cast of Tocantins.
And I'll also say this for Parvati's sake, this is the second time where she's got a bunch of people to just act as fans to her dominance. And those people barely even knew her when they went in, though. But you say that a lot of people didn't know Parvati. I feel like a lot of them, this happens every season with Suri, that people just forget the particulars and just remember the fame. Because it seemed like there was a lot of people. It's like, I just want to work with Parvati. I don't even know if it's a good move, but and that was obviously Kirby. I think Sarah was similarly. Shawnee, at first, I think probably didn't want to, but then gets to that place. And the very first is like, hey, we're giving the people what they want. Shawnee and Parvati is like, I guess so. Lisa obviously was more Suri than Parvati, but obviously as a duo, it works there. But it's just like, it was like a bunch of fans. It was a fans versus favorites season, except that all of you are supposed to be favorites too, aren't you?
Yeah, it's very although that would have been more for an all-star season, but so there was a season of Drag Race a couple years ago. It was a drag queen, Sasha Colby, who was already known as your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen, and dominated the season, easily won. Everyone knew she was going to win, but there was a point during it where queens were like, the Sasha Colby meet and greet.
Yeah.
Because everyone's just like, oh my God.
Well, that's like Survivor Guatemala was like that with everybody who wanted to play with Stephanie, right? Obviously, then when they got put to the jury, they hated her, but...
Yeah. And was it Gary, which would make sense because he would have had his own
level of fame or at least familiarity with those that do.
Been around those who are famous, of you can get her autograph after the show.
So there was a lot of going on there for these supposed all-stars. There's a lot of hero worship and all of that. And like I said, as you hinted at before, I am the resident Micronesia hater. Hater meaning that I think it's closer to being the 10th best season of Survivor than the first. Part of that is, the imbalance of fans versus favorite seasons. Now, this wasn't as bad as the next time they did it, but only because so many really entertaining episodes. But it was still a lot of hapless fans being manipulated by the people that they saw on the TV. For those, of course, that did watch Survivor, there was also a bunch of fans that had no idea and that didn't watch Survivor at all, right? So it's that imbalance is hard for me to get excited about, much like any kind of have versus have not season is. And then, of course, there's the fact that 4 of them were eliminated by non-voting out means. Again, there's some amazing Survivor in there. That's why, I still think it's a very good season of Survivor. Man, she kind of did it again. So then, does this win, like the show kept suggesting, does this elevate Parvati? Is she the greatest of all time because she won Survivor Australia versus the world?
So, it's funny, and those who listen to our Hap will know I'm kind of stealing this from Rob, but I do agree. It's weird that the show is pushing that because I think for Parvati, maybe yes, but if
Lisa wins it,
right, or and maybe at least that'd be a second win.
Touche, bad example, Luke.
Yeah. There are most of the people on this cast had never won before. I think the only winners, and this was weird. That's David. It sounds like he knew a lot of the people, but he also got kind of fucked because he was the only winner on the Australian tribe. That's crazy. The world tribe had 4 winners, and the Australian tribe had 1. That's crazy. But if Janine or Cass or Tommy or
Tommy,
Shawnee
I think won
Kirby.
Finland, didn't he?
No, he was
okay, fair.
Yeah. Apparently in a
really South
weird...
Africa guy was the other one, sorry.
Yes, South Africa. He Rob, apparently quite dominated, which I think is probably why he did bad. It sounds like he played a very actually Boston Rob and Redemption Island style game. And so if that's the way, well,
worked before.
Everyone just did what I told them. What do you mean they have agency? But yeah, if any of it's no, sorry, no, Shawnee is not the best player of all time if she wins on her 4th try.
Yeah, for me, it's it's nice for Tony to play her along, but he already has that title. So, obviously, arguably, but this show is going to do that.
I think for Parvati, it puts her in the conversation. Absolutely. I don't think that this show was for the greatest of all time. I think that's stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I'm struggling to really decide how much winning a minor league title does for Parvati one way or the other, right? Do we count Messi's time in Major League Soccer as part of his overall greatness, or is this hey, it's kind of fun that he's out there doing something that is nowhere near as competitive or as good as what he normally does?
Right. I think for me, the reason why it gets her in the conversation is the amount of dominance it was, and her overall track record, because she doesn't really have like a flop season. Like
No.
the worst she ever does is Winners at War, and I know I'm coming from a bias as a Parvati stan, but she is one of the most swap screwed people that there has ever been in Survivor. And I know that sounds crazy because a lot of people have been swap screwed, but not only was she swapped onto like a minority for her main tribe, but she was swapped into a tribe where every single other person, including her tribe mate, was in a pregame alliance.
Yeah.
That's and oh, the little reward she got from the Edge of Extinction was an idol nullifier. That doesn't do shit in that situation.
Yeah. It's gratifying to see her get stuff in this game that were actually useful.
Right. Like, I mean, that was just... as much they're like, oh, I'm Michelle, it's awkward that Wendell's on my tribe. Well, then you probably shouldn't have made a pregame alliance with him.
Yeah. I'll say it's unlikely, but not impossible that if she had survived because they didn't go to tribal council, that she would have been able to continue on. But that's just due to the dynamics of that season and her legend, not anything to do with her not playing well. Yeah, for me, it's like I'm not sure if it elevates her because, like, if you want to say she was the greatest of all time before she ever stepped foot in this season, I think that's fair. Like, for me, she's in the top 5, which. Like, I haven't done the math. Like, there's probably about 6 or 7 players that feel like top 5 type players with heart. Yeah. And look, Parvati is on my Survivor. What's that mountain you guys
Mount
took from the native? Yeah.
Mount Rushmore.
There you go. And this doesn't change that. But it was a hell of an impressive win. But yeah, and this is like me calling it minor league Survivor is not just me taking shots at fans of International Survivor. It's certainly that. I'm not going to deny it. But again, this is a 16 season episode. This was not Survivor. Okay.
Right.
What
like
this
it is
was
a different game.
Yeah.
A different structure, I should say.
For years, people always like, when are you going to do Celebrity Survivor to Probst, right? And he was always like, we would have to water the show down so much to make it palatable to celebrities that it would no longer feel like Survivor. That's what this was, man. Like, just a little over 16 weeks. It felt like it only rained
so
once.
Much rice.
So much rice. Like, I saw these heaping spoonfuls of rice they were taking. Like, I don't think he's going to finish that. Like, it felt like more rice that I could eat now. Obviously, like, they had the freaking auction like 5 days into it. And they were giving out like more food than like they often get, like where good things happen in the regular season. Like,
they were giving out more food than you get at like Chili's.
Yes.
Those places, like those were... People talk about American portion sizes. What the fuck is going on in Australia?
For all the extra time and episodes we had and more scenes of camp life or whatever, I don't really feel like we got anybody giving a single confessional of like, man, I'm really having a hard time out here physically. So, look, she won something that seemed like Survivor. She did elements of Survivor to win, but it's like, I don't know that I could compare this to any of this. And frankly, like, it is far less impressive than her win in Micronesia. It's far less impressive than her non-win in Heroes versus Villains, which frankly, I feel is more impressive than her win in Micronesia. So it's just like, but yeah, she's got the 2-time winner thing. She, again, dominated everybody. So like, it's something. But I don't know how much it moves the needle given how elevated she already was. But, man, it was great seeing Parvati doing Parvati stuff again.
It really was.
Maybe this is the only way where she could have, like, if she did well enough, the Boston Rob's like, maybe I could do that. Like, he knows he's cooked on regular Survivor. It'll never happen ever again. I don't know that I'd care to see. Obviously, if he showed up, so would I. So it's like... This is probably the only format she could really, truly do Parvati stuff, just because everybody on this side of the planet knows how dangerous she is. But it was great seeing it, because it's like, obviously some of it pre-fandom, but some of it's just, she's got this unreal charisma that just draws people in and makes them make the wrong decisions. And that was gratifying.
Yeah, she has a confessional in Deal or No Deal Island, where she says that she could be a cult leader if she wanted to. And I
Yeah.
think that's true. And it's also wild to say because she, I haven't actually read her memoir yet, which I know sounds crazy for someone who's such a fan. It's a long story as to why, but like she apparently grew up in a cult, so she would know.
Yeah. Maybe that's where she got some,
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
But,
like they talk about social game, and obviously she's one of the all-time greats in that category, but it's like she is also just the perfect example of often fantastic social game is just innate, charisma. And it's not like,
Yeah.
not that like us common folks can study it and then we're going to go out there and do it. And you can't be Parvati. She has it. And she knows she has it, so she's using it consciously, but there's also some subconscious things. It's just like, when you're around a Parvati, you really just want her to like you. It probably feels so fucking good.
I mean, I remember when I worked at a bakery, she came in to the cake shop in like 2011. So this is like pretty fresh off Heroes vs. Villains. And we had to wear these stupid punny shirts to the mat. And so she asked like, oh, can I take a picture of you with the cake so I could send it to my friend? I was like, okay.
Yeah, you feel like $1 million. You're not voting her out that night.
No, absolutely not.
You know that she's playing you, but it's like, I'll let myself be played just a little longer.
Yeah.
I'll get her eventually, but damn, this feels good.
Quick side note, Sam Elliott was also a customer a couple times at that place, and hearing his voice in real life also evokes that feeling. It's crazy. I'm like, this guy is old as hell, and I'm still like blushing when he's like, oh, can I get a chocolate cake, darling? I'm like, yes, sir.
Yes. I wouldn't mind if he called me darling. Hopefully he'd call me something like boss or something, and then I'd be like, fuck.
Oh, that'd be the good stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it does anything to change my opinion of Parvati because it was already really high, but damn, it was fun, And frankly, like, even like in Traders, obviously she did not go very far because she was doomed the second she walked on. Yeah. Just frankly, some of it just like people were just assuming, hey, if I was casting this show, who would I cast as a trader? Ironically, they didn't,
Right.
but it still ended up working right. So she would never had a chance. But like you get to see her do a few Parvati things on there, and it's great. Saying like Rob had no chance ever, but I got to see him do a little bit of Rob, and usually that's just enough at this stage when I get these guest starring opportunities. Same with Suri. I don't think she could ever win Survivor. We'll find out. She'll have another shot, and we're going to talk about her in a second. But you get to see her do Suri things. It's fun. I got to see Parvati do Parvati things, and it fucking worked.
It was incredible.
Yeah. What wasn't incredible was losing Suri at just on the brink of making the finals.
Just taking it old school, bringing it back to Panama. It's classic 2-2 fire-making tie. Just a bummer.
Yeah. Now, at least this time, she actually got a fire started.
She sure did, and it eventually... So maybe... Boy, do I hope she spent all of her time between this filming and Survivor 50 practicing fire.
Yeah, I think it's a good portion of it. Now, the caveat to that is Luke wasn't particularly good at it either.
He
so
really was.
She had a lot more time than she would have against other fire makers. Yeah. Against others, she probably would have never gotten a spark as well.
That's why I hope she's practicing.
Yeah. But... yeah, no, that was obviously heartbreaking. Exactly what I was expecting to happen. Because
it was less heartbreaking just because to me it was so like that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's obvious Suri is not making the finals because if she was, her edit would have been different because I think it would have been a closer vote. I'm not guaranteeing that she would have beat Parvati, but like we can count some votes on that jury for her.
Yeah. I mean, I know she 100% gets Lisa's.
Yeah. And then I wouldn't be surprised like Tommy or whatever. Like, who knows? Again, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Season we saw was the season Parvati won, and thus that colors every perception that we have. But yeah, and it does just reinforce that Suri can't win Survivor. Trader she can. It was a part because she got to play with people who didn't know how to play games or know much about her.
Although, and honestly, people point that out about traders and because it's like half normies. I think those normies probably know more about the game than like a Real Housewife, So I don't think these celebrity seasons.
Well, I was counting those people as people who don't know the game as well.
That's fair. I'm just saying in general, because they were on that first season too.
Yeah.
But like in general, I think your average like person who's like applying to reality TV is maybe more likely to know than like people from Dancing with the Stars and Bachelor and Vanderpump Rules. Or
it's definitely, I'd say you're more likely to catch like a super fan that like is excited to game than the celeb whatever reality. I don't know the acronym.
They can't all be Dylan Efron.
Yeah, but I would say the ones that teamed up with Suri at the end, they did not strike me as that. Especially given the way they reacted to how
I'm gonna be Lisa when Advantage got brought up. I can't hear that.
That was fantastic. Lisa literally walked out because she's like, I can't be here for this. It hurts too much to hear.
I had to act that out for my husband. I was like, you need to know. I'm like, okay, so there's this girl from New Zealand. But yeah,
I thought I had made my peace with it, but hearing Suri talk about it is just too much.
Also, it really showed that the Australians don't really watch because, like, Janine's like, "What do you mean you got voted with no votes?" And Lisa just, I can't hear this.
Yeah, I'd say Janine might not be representative of like a fan type. Again, I don't know anything
That's
about
fair.
these,
She's apparently very successful.
Yeah.
Woman.
But yeah, like, so getting back to Suri, this is nothing new, but it reinforces that she can't win Survivor because she can't get herself to the end.
And the ironic thing is, though,
I know in Micronesia she thought she had.
Well, yeah, but no, the irony here is that, she went out in fire making? Oh man, that's what would happen in the US because there's always fire making. But the thing is, if it was the rules where they have automatic fire making, Parvati takes her.
Yes.
Parvati takes her.
Definitely, yes.
I think the loyalty is strong enough and the money is small enough.
Yeah, and that second part. Whereas in 50, I don't think there's anybody who takes her.
No, but it's just interesting. And I say this like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, this is how U.S. Survivor is better, because we don't like the fucking fire-making twist, but it is just a little bit of cruel irony, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's honestly something I hadn't thought of. Excellent point.
Yeah, thank you.
I also think, I think Parvati was perfectly willing, like, if that's the way it goes down, I lose to Suri, that's fine. Like, it'll be part of a reward for me to get there to the end with her, all these years later when that chance was taken away from us. Because in the end, this isn't real Survivor, and this money, does not mean much. I've won real money on the show. I understand how it works. Now, I don't know how like earning your money overseas works with taxes, but I kind of think Parvati is only getting about 125 winnings. I don't know if they negotiated appearance fees.
Right, because I think Tyson said he would have gotten 50,000. So I don't know if she would have gotten more or if that was the amount for everyone. Yeah. Okay. So just I looked up the conversion rate without taxes. It's like 165 ish.
Right. And then I think you're probably losing a chunk of it. So really, like, it's the money is like, it's always nice to have a little bit more money. That's why, the legends of our game now just kind of bounce around these shows because it's like, hey, this is my job. This is what I do.
Yeah.
But like if she loses that to Suri, she'd probably feel great. And Suri finally won. She deserves it. That's not going to be the way in regular Survivor. And it's always been the case. So it's like one of the reasons why the main reason Suri's always able to go far is because she's fucking amazing and is able to do that. But a secondary thing is like, we can vote her out later. And it's always been true because she cannot win challenges, and that's not going to ever change because she's older now. She wasn't good before, and I can understand people are frustrating, like, why aren't you getting better? It's like, that's not how, like, it works with bodies as we age.
She did better than I expected. Like, obviously,
there were a couple was like, like even like the torture one, she lasted like half an hour. I was like, just step off right away.
Right. And in the long form, like this emotion, but they had to run up the stairs, she got third place.
Yeah.
Pretty good. She outlasted all the Australians in the like Pilates challenge, except for, who knows how long Sarah could have actually gone, but because she didn't need to, because it was like the team, but all of them did quite well.
But it's like,
Anyway.
I have no problem calling Suri the best to never win. It's probably how I feel too. But it's like the special case where it's like she's the best to never win and probably could never win. Again, unless because you could simulate that nobody would ever know who she is and she starts fresh every time. Because she came close in Panama, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like at a certain point, people know it's like, because the other thing is,
I mean, Aris was fully willing to sit next to her, which is crazy.
But it's a different era survivor and a different guy, but it could happen. But because the other thing is, she can't get herself there, but she's such a great person, which is how she does so well, is that people will work against their own interests because they just like being with her. They trust her, even though she's backstabbed every season she's been on and bragged about it. You don't bring that person to the finals. The super nice person that I love and I would hand the money over to if I was in the jury, you vote that person off eventually too. So whereas a lot of the other greatest to never win, it's you can envision scenarios where they could have. Will I still be rooting like hell that somehow she wins 50? Fuck yes, but
of course. And you know what? Parvati said she hired an Etsy witch, so it could happen.
There you go. Do you have any other takes about Suri on this season or just Suri in general?
I mean, I love Suri. I will watch everything for Suri. This wasn't the best showing just because I think the way the lopsided edit is. I know she got a little purple in Game Changers probably because of Advantage Get It and because her tribe never went to tribal. I don't think if this season was in America, I think we would have gotten more out of her. Partially because of the reverence, partially just because how it's edited, and it was just so obvious Parvati was winning. But
it would have been easier. Sorry to interrupt, just to reinforce your point. To edit this as a Suri and Parvati season to create enough doubt heading into the final episode.
Yeah, especially because there were moments in that fire challenge where I was like, wait, could they? When Luke keeps collapsing his fire because it's I'll just throw this pile of sticks that still has a rubber band on it.
And Suri kept getting votes. That would be enough to kind of from the momentum, she's the big target here.
Yeah, I think Suri got more votes in this season than in all of her previous seasons combined.
I'm not going to do the math, but that sounds right.
Yeah, or at least very close to it, which is wild.
I mean, obviously we know in the last time she played American Survivor, she did not catch any votes when she left. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted. I don't know if you had the...
Oh, no, that's it. That's
okay. Real quick, the third person we were interested in going for, Tony, did not really have much to do this season. And that is not, for me, is not a knock on him at all. Again, they entered that season 3 Americans to 4 internationals and 3 men to 4 women. Once they did the right move on getting rid of the guy who was making a big show of himself, it was this fait accompli. It's hey, what do I want to do? Go with this 4 women possible alliance or up in the game to keep one of the most dangerous guys around? So the structure of the season didn't give him any chance to do anything.
Yeah, I do think we have to address the shoe, though.
Yes, I honestly forgot about it. Please.
How could you forget the shoe?
Yeah, so long ago. And I'll say, what you were saying earlier, this first episode started on fire and all that. That middle portion, I was can we just get to when they mix? So I was
yeah, and that whole, I mean, because we already spoke about the twist, but. First of all, man, good on Tony for clocking okay, it's definitely Parvati who opened the chest. Bad luck for him that she did actually tell the women, and also that Cass had an idol, so at least that's one person who was not going to believe his bluff. That's just bad luck. What are you going to do? Man, Tony never changed. That man took a shoe.
Yes.
And put it around his neck. What else can you say, Yeah,
and by all indications, I would assume he knew he was doomed. So it's let's just do something fun. And that's kind of my point of why I was rooting for him as my second choice. Is because he's going to do some wildly entertaining shit. Even when there are no moves, he ties a fucking shoe around his neck.
He took a shoe and he put it around his neck. Just what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Usually that is said derogatorily. In this instance, wonderful.
Yeah. And actually, that gets a quick thought about Parvati is like, so yeah, Tony does that. I genuinely don't believe he's like, this is going to work. He's like, yeah, let's make a moment here, you know? Parvati, especially early when, you know, in the show, it's a little, you know, it's 12 days away from winning versus 2. It seemed very clear she knew the role. And some of it seems like, you know, traitors coded. That it's like, yeah, I'm going to give the people, at least like in confessionals and a few other moments, like, I'm going to give the people what they want. Like, I'm going to give them some real Parvati moments. She would say things in confessionals, like in the way traitors that you're always trying to, you play into the gimmick.
Right.
And I love that. It was fantastic. Like, thank you. You're a pro. These are pros for a reason. Now I'll say, like, yeah, at the 5th or 6th, I lost because of a bitter jury. It's like, come on, Parvati, you're better than that. I mean, it's not untrue, because people who say there's no such thing as a bitter jury are ridiculous. Of course there is. It just isn't an excuse. Like, it doesn't invalidate their decisions. But yeah, no, those people were bitter.
Yeah, that I might put more onto how you mentioned the editing being repetitive.
Yeah, no, 100%. She had the line. It's a hot line, and then they just like, okay, we got it. You don't need to show every time she said it, otherwise it looks worse.
Though.
Just like every time, like Luke is calling himself the king of the jungle. That's another thing that kind of bothers me. It feels like the Australians are very big into self-given nicknames.
Yeah, King of the Jungle, Golden God, King
George.
King George, and also kept stating his, I guess, city or, I don't know, Sydney suburb, that I'm like, this means nothing to me. I don't know where that is.
And not just that they do it themselves. I mean, we're, 6 months away from watching a guy who calls himself coach again. But like that, everybody plays into it too. It's like, really? You're all just comfortable calling this guy? Like they called him Golden God more than they called him David.
Yeah. It was funny, however, when George got voted out and Jonathan said something about like, oh, the gods and kings are dead. And Luke's like, hey.
Yeah, I mean, again, not knowing the show, I kept saying like, I don't know the people. Is anybody else thinking you of the king here?
Yeah, I assume that must have, been a thing from previous season. Don't really know why, but that's fine. None of my business. Yeah.
Yeah. So there, we've talked about the people that drew us into the season, but we watched the whole thing. We watched all of these people. Did any of the non-Americans stand out for you?
Not really.
Yeah, same.
I thought Tommy was funny. It's funny because I know he wasn't on the show very much, but I always enjoyed him when he was.
Yeah. No one made an impression. Now, more caveats. I came here.
Wolf ponchos. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the lone wolf. And the intro was pretty fun with everybody. But again, the best moment was Tony hanging out of the truck with Parvati driving, right?
That is the most patriotic I've ever felt in my life.
I was feeling it, and I fucking hate your country.
It's like this, and it's women's gymnastics. Yeah. It's the only time I'm like, USA, USA.
But yeah, nobody stand out. But the caveat obviously being, I came here to watch the Americans, and then the American dominate. So there was like never. All I wanted from these other people was them to lose to the Americans, and they played their role.
They did it great. Thank you.
Yeah. So like obviously some national pride here. Like Cass seemed like she could be really interesting with the limitation of having to strategize, converse, and all this in her non-primary language. But like there were times like, oh, she seems like she's not falling for this Parvati Sri stuff.
Yeah, she was making me nervous. I was like, she's got to turn on Cass, and then she did, and it was in the most incredible way.
Yeah. So it's like I had some respect. Obviously, she was also very attractive, but at the same time, it's like I at every point, I'm like, you got to go. Like when it did seem like she was doing this, like, well, let's get the hell out of her. And then she did exactly at the right time. So it's like, yes, perfect. But
thank you.
And then it's like, he was barely there, but like I could see why people are interested in David, but he wasn't on the show, right? I could see why George is like a figure of attention, but fuck, he annoyed the shit out of me, which I think is his role probably. But all these other people, like, they were fodder for Parvati. So, like, I don't know that they had a chance to stand out, but they absolutely did not for me.
It was interesting hearing the different Australian accents. I feel like I need to learn where they were each from to map each accent to which region. I did wonder during Final Tribal, because Luke seems to have a particularly thick dialect or like accent, if that was even harder for Tommy and Cass.
I did like him being all like used guys.
Yeah, when he's talking about use and neck lace, if they're like, what?
I mean, ultimately, pluralizing you is probably the way that English should have. That's why, like, y'all is so useful a term.
Yeah, I'm not even against it. I just like legitimately wonder if it was more difficult for them, because I don't know what it's like to. I've been trying, man, but it's still really hard for me to understand spoken Spanish. So
yeah, that's the thing. The other languages had that worked out. We just dropped the ball on that. But yeah, so like I didn't come out of this as a fan of anyway. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of people pre-fans, but like people like, oh yeah, Kirby, you're gonna love her. It's like, she was kind of all over the place. I thought she made a lot of critical errors throughout the game.
Yeah, I agree. I just can't believe they didn't turn on her. I mean, I know they did, but like earlier, it was crazy to me.
Yeah, Lisa being a super fan that wears like a podcast shirt really does nothing for me. If you have any understanding of how I felt about those people before.
I did like the specific Suri moments, though.
Oh yeah, no, actually, like there were definitely moments where like Lisa made me laugh in her fandom. Her take of like, I guess I need to follow the extended cinematic universe of reality TV. That was
just like, oh, spoilers for Deal or No Deal Island.
Legitimate chuckles at that. So like, yeah, I mean, I get it. She seems like a perfectly lovely person, but she was also like a fangirl in a season that she's supposed to be a player, you know? And I know historically, people look down upon that, at least when, seasons where a person I like wins it, and now we're going to celebrate. So yeah, otherwise, obviously, we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details. It's already an hour and a half, and it's a long season. But there was one that we touched on. What the fuck was that auction?
I mean, I think you're more worked up about this than me. So
and obviously enough time that I've come down on it. But yeah, the food portions were insane.
The food portion, and it was like somehow both too much and too little because it was so short.
Yeah.
Like I know the whole idea is like, but it's like, I don't know. It was stupid.
Yeah. And, obviously there's always the possibility that certain items get edited out and all that. But like, the food was still on people's laps, It didn't seem like there was a lot of extra stuff. So they give, I don't remember who won what. The plate of ribs looked like an Amazing Race volume food eating challenge.
That was like an entire pig. Ribs are pig, right?
The better ones are, yes.
Okay.
There's also cow, but pork, obviously, those that don't know, Emma does not eat things that used to live.
I mean, plants live.
Yeah. I was trying to get into the soul, but I don't believe that anyway.
Yeah,
so.
Neither do I.
Yeah. She does not eat meat. Or
really
most other foods.
There is a word for it. Like,
sometimes you try to find new ways of saying things when you're like creating word pictures as the content. I failed miserably in that respect, admittedly. Could have just said food and we could have spared us like 2 minutes here, but we're making magic. That was just way too much food for that scenario. You're sitting there. You haven't been eating, although caveat, they've been eating plenty, and it really needs to be noted that they did that auction like 5 days into the season.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing, though, is like people not really bidding. And so Lisa gets the club sandwich, which was also huge, for $40 Australian, which is like, I just looked it up, like, is probably what it would cost, maybe even cheaper than what it would cost at like an American airport. It's like $26.50. Like,
and
the closest it's ever come.
that was the best item. Obviously, you don't know, but based on everything that happened, you're getting, carbs and fries and the bread. You're getting, some vegetables and lettuce. You're getting proteins, and it's not so much that it's going to, make you sick. Meanwhile, here's a whole fucking chocolate cake. Fantastic. There's no time in my life where I could eat an entire chocolate cake. Even if starving on Survivor, that you'd be in pain. It would hurt you,
And, yeah, it's literally used as a torture in a children's movie.
Yes.
Sarah's not Bruce. What are you? Why are they doing this to her? It's supposed to be a prize.
Here's a huge thing of popcorn. Again, the sandwich is the best thing. You could eat that, maybe not all of it, but maybe all of it, and still feel fine. This ribs is half of that, maybe, and it's timed, so you really got to house it. It was insane, and not to mention the fact that 3 people were eliminated after the first bid,
and there still wasn't enough for everyone to even bid. I don't.
Yeah,
think...
2 people seemingly did nothing.
Yeah, what are we doing? And I am someone who can eat a lot of cake. I can go to town on a dessert, but I can't eat a whole cake. Not a full size. When they've done that on Survivor, usually it's then you share. But you've made a point of you definitely can't share any of this. So here's full sharing portions of everything.
Yeah, man. And how do you do an auction that you don't have the gimmick that now they have where it's we're going to pick a number and that's when it's going to be or whatever, where there's fewer items than there are people? There's only one person who won 2. 3 people won 1, and 2 people won nothing. What the fuck are we doing? What was the point of that? The only point of that segment is to send Parvati, or whoever, obviously, but it ends up being Parvati, to the beach by themselves so they can get, should be noted, a huge fucking sample of cookies.
Shit ton of cookies. Which it did say it's you can
share.
You can keep
share.
these.
And then an advantage, which,
And an advantage.
It created a fun scene where it's just this fucking Mr. Magoo, one thing after another. I can't hide. Oh no, I spilled them. Oh no, I broke. And
that was the most nervous I was for Parvati the entire season. I was oh no, is she getting a dodo at it? I can't live like this.
Getting sent all my cookies out how it broke. And the one misstep that ended up not being is how are you not looking for an advantage in that at the very least, Parvati? It took it breaking open for her to find it.
Oh,
well, yeah. So this is not comparison American versus. It's just that was a shitty segment of an auction. And America's had plenty.
Yeah, we also don't like what the Americans have done to the auction. It's just do it normal, guys. Just make it be fun. It doesn't have to be anything else. It can just be fun.
Yeah, it was all right, we're bringing you all together here, and we're finally having an auction. Finally, a chance to eat. It's these people are full. We don't need this.
Right.
Anyway.
I'm looking at our chat about the auction and I'm crying.
That's why I had to bring it up. Because, and that's the other, honestly, negative about, getting into International Survivor is a big part of the appeal of Survivor at all is the social aspect for us, right? It's a show that we watch live or live-ish. You obviously, West Coast time is, a lot of the conversations already happened. I can watch it East Coast time if I want to, but I wait until later in the day. So
you can?
Yeah, I have, through my cable, I can get either TV out of Toronto or Vancouver, or if it's American stuff Detroit or Spokane.
I didn't know that. And sorry,
that doesn't always a feature. That's a kind of a feature of the cable package I have currently. Why do I have cable? Because I watch sports and Survivor. And we have fewer streaming options to skip those things here in Canada. Get a VPN. Anyway. But the social aspect of it is, you want to be in there in the conversation. But because everybody's watching these international shows at different aspects, there's not really conversation. People can put their own thoughts, maybe a couple of reactions. And I'll say I was reading the comments, but I didn't want to mingle. For one, I didn't want to start big timing everybody this is your God, Jonathan, or anything. Have your fun. I don't want to ruin it. Plus, I wanted to save all the takes for the end. But yeah, even within ourselves, you're watching it, Sunday, and maybe me, I don't get to it till the first one till Tuesday, after which there's already been 3 episodes. It's just not the same experience. But the auction was one that like both you, me, like John, we all had takes because it's just like, this is wild.
The portions were so big. The auction was so short. It was after 5 days. It's all very silly.
Yeah. And like it feels clear to me that at least one of them was waiting for like another advantage. And it's like, well, I mean, that's why we took advantages out of this game. Right. That's why they bid big, the two people. And then I think maybe Sarah and Sari never got anything, right?
Sarah got the cake. I think Cass, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Because they're like, there's going to be some like kind of, and it's like, yeah. Frankly, I mean, maybe you're right. Who wants that much food? But like, obviously you can eat some of it, but it's just like, you don't need to do that. You can fill like half of that. The show we watched gave a whole fucking rotisserie chicken to like 4 people. And then meanwhile, a bunch of people who have tons of rice are like, all right, we slaughtered a whole pig. Here you go. Anyway, so I think obviously I think I've made my answer to this question pretty obvious. Maybe yours is different. After the glory of seeing something we've wanted to see for quite a while, again, finally happened, will we watch future seasons of Survivor Australia?
Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they cast enough U.S. players and enough of the right U.S. players again, and it's and I watched them yell at briefcases for Boston Rob. I'd probably watch this at his, but I also don't really want him to be on Survivor again. But if
it's Australia versus the world again, like
if it's just like one showing up, like Sandra's, like that. Maybe if you tell me she won, then maybe I'll backtrack. But
I think maybe it would be the site that I used has it all pretty easily. But the thing is, it's like, it's so much. I'm not watching TV on my iPad. Like, what it would be is if it was easy to download, then maybe I would watch on like a plane or something. But I can also watch movies on planes, so I will do that. Probably not.
Yeah, and how long a flight? Like, you gotta like, I'm going to Japan next year. That doesn't get me through a third of Survivor Australia.
Wait, we're talking about going to Japan next year.
Oh, we should maybe look at the time and link up.
We're already planning it with other friends, but maybe.
We'll meet in their equivalent of In-N-Out Burger for like an hour. I won't tell my wife that we're doing that, and she'll be so surprised when she runs into Emma.
That was so. I'm gonna explain real quick because that also sounded bad. The last time Andy and his family were in Los Angeles, he's like, "Oh, let's meet up." He says he told his wife that they were doing this. She says he did not. I show up to meet them, but they had already sat down. Like, so I'm ordering, run into her. I'm like, oh, hey, like, because I knew she would be there. She's like, oh my God. Andy's outside. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
we're here to meet up.
Not really gathering. Like, yeah, cool. I'll be right out there. She's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm here. This isn't even my neighborhood. This is like 3 In-N-Outs away. I traveled.
Yeah. It was like, were you hiding this from your wife? No, probably what it is like we talked about, like, oh, are we going to meet up with Emily? It's like, oh, yeah, probably. But like I hadn't firmed up details, right?
The actual,
and then I never, like, there's like, yeah, we're going to see here at In-N-Out when we get there. I thought I had said that, but like, again, it's meeting up at a fast food restaurant. It's not like this big, right. And it's no change to our schedule, right? When we get to LA and finally get out of LAX, the first thing we do is go to the In-N-Out in El Segundo because it's close and we're starving.
Which is funny because if you went to the LAX one, well, it's not my neighborhood one anymore, but that was my college In-N-Out. So,
but you want to get clear of LAX once you get to
it's such a hassle.
And all of that.
No, for sure.
And then, I mean, the only reason we go to LA is to get to Anaheim. So that's like the provision.
Right. You might as well go south. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then stopping there, saves me from going to Orange County, which
obviously this is fascinating for the people
really
listening.
Great stuff. Yeah.
But anyway.
2 hours in. Yeah.
So anyway, it was a fun experience. Anybody saying that this is the greatest season, you guys are fucking lying. There's no fucking way that this was I refuse to believe that this was the greatest season of Survivor Australia, a show I've never otherwise watched. This was a fun little diversion gimmick that is not really Survivor, but Survivor-esque enough, and no way near as some of the great seasons of real Survivor. So,
But it was fun, and Parvati rules.
Yeah. So, obviously share your takes. We will be back when actual Survivor is back. Don't look forward to the preview podcast because that will not exist. But, the night after, when, do you know when that is?
Yeah, God, sorry if you can hear it.
I hear a dog barking, yes.
Yeah, I don't even...
I'm not editing this, so if he shows up, hey, guest star.
It's in 2 weeks. The
2
24th.
weeks. Fair enough. Yeah, I was thinking it was in the 20s. It shows you how deep I am to the
Like,
off-season.
my not knowing was like, I knew how many weeks away. It was more about like not knowing what day
it is currently.
Any day is, you know?
So, the day after that, we will be in it. Those of you that listen to both, the Fantasy League is already underway, I'm guessing. Is that accurate?
I saw a post. So
okay, yeah. I don't participate in that either.
We retired.
I did.
I said we. I also retired.
Okay, I honestly didn't know for sure, but when you said we, I assumed that meant you and not...
Yeah.
We're
back for the Champions League for Winners at War, because...
Yeah, I did too, and then just threw it away because I knew the role that people wanted me to play for that season.
That was very funny.
All right, so...
who I had.
Yeah, look forward to it then. That'll be the next time I think about Survivor. And we're not doing top threes. I did consider just picking our top 3 Australians, but there's no way my choices wouldn't just be wildly offensive. Like, I don't know, Crocodile Hunter? That's not even his name, right? Anyway.
Steve Irwin.
I knew his name was Steve Hunter. What was his, nickname? Was it Crocodile Hunter?
I think it was Crocodile Hunter. Yeah. I never really watched that.
Nor did I, really.
I don't have the... Yeah. His son is apparently about to be on Dancing with the Stars.
Enjoy that. All right. I will hit... Am I going to use theme music? The theme music will not really be about this show. Hey, it's about Survivor. Good enough. We'll find out what happens here. Thanks for listening.
Bye.